Let's get started. I know we have a few more that are joining, and that we'll get them caught up. Thanks for making the time to do this. This is our second month where we've now been meeting virtually, and I think more than ever to have an hour or two together is something I certainly appreciate, and I hope you do too. Usually we're meeting at Joe DiMaggio right now. We'll have to settle for Zoom. Um, Tonight we have a few guest speakers. I'm really excited to hear some of the important information that we will from our first speaker, Carmen Chu, San Francisco's Assessor-Recorder. And then towards the end of the night, we're going to hear a really uplifting message, I think, and hear a really important project from someone with roots in our own neighborhood. And I'm excited to share that with you later. First and foremost, if we haven't had the chance to meet yet, my name is Danny Sauter. I'm the president of North Beach Neighbors. We've got a wonderful board with us tonight. We have so many wonderful members, 300 plus strong now in North Beach, Russian Hill, Telegraph Hill, Chinatown. And again, we're going to spend the next hour and a half talking through some of the really important updates happening in our community in this difficult time. And first, for the next 20 minutes, we have San Francisco's Assessor-Recorder, Carmen Chu, with us tonight. I'll ask her a few questions, but we want to make sure that you have the chance to do that as well. So please enter any questions, thoughts, concerns about our conversation in the chat box. We will do our best to surface some of those in the conversation to be held here. So with that being said, I would like to introduce Carmen Chu, who is San Francisco's Assessor-Recorder, and I will first kick the conversation off by asking Carmen, can you give us, for those of us who aren't familiar with that title, with that role, can you give us an overview of what that role does and what it looks like for you in San Francisco?
Sure. So, hi everybody. My name is Carmen Chu. Ignore the name. It says Annie Ma. That's actually my part of my team, and so I think the invitation probably went to her, and it was on my calendar. So, there you go. But again, my name is Carmen Chu. I serve as San Francisco's elected assessor. There are 58 counties in the state of California, and each county has one elected assessor. Primarily, our role is to make sure that we're administering the property tax laws of the state of California in a way that is fair and consistent with the state. And so if you own property in San Francisco, you probably have interacted with my office. There's a distinction in that my office actually is not the tax collector's office, which is a source of confusion oftentimes. So if you are thinking about paying your property tax bills or wondering about property tax bills and payments, or have turned in late and are wondering about waivers and penalties and so on, it's actually a different office. It's the tax collector's office. What we do primarily is around the valuation of property. So my office looks at every single parcel in the city. There's 210,000 parcels roughly at the last count. And we basically take a look at the value for every single one of them following state laws for property tax purposes. Other than that, I also have recorder in my name. So it's not just assessor, but recorder. And the recorder function has a lot to do with being the public kind of clearinghouse or public space in which we're keeping very important documents like deeds to your home or public marriage licenses. And so oftentimes that's when people interact with us also. I think we probably, I want to say the last time I might have met with everybody, we had actually talked about a big project that we had this is years ago, where we actually had turned over, I think last year we turned over 70,000 historic photos that were in our office based from just years and years of kind of property information that we'd gathered to the public library to make it available to the public. So that's been it's been a good thing to be able to share those kinds of resources with everybody. I think one of the things that you probably will hear me speak about a little bit later is the work that I'm doing on the Economic Recovery Task Force for the city. That has nothing to do with my role as assessor. As assessor, the role is about that administration of property taxes. But I think especially at this time, when there is so much need and so much work to be done, many of us in the city are stepping up and in different roles than we normally have. And so you have people from departments that are working in the city's emergency operations center to help provide an extra pair of hands, because frankly, right now there's so much work to do, from logistics and planning to trying to figure out what our budget process is going to look like, to figuring out how it is that we responsibly open government and also public services or private sector services. So I think we're all stepping outside of our roles, and the recovery task force for me is a role outside of my normal day-to-day assessor's world. About 98% of my office's working hours are being done remotely right now. When shelter in place was announced on the 16th of March, we actually were able to flip the switch and go remote pretty quickly on March the 17th. And so for the most part, most of our services are still running, just being run away from San Francisco City Hall and our 2 other locations. So in a nutshell, that is what we do. And then I've got my other hat on right now as the Economic Recovery Task Force co-chair.
Thanks, Carmen. And there's been so many changes and updates to deadlines and process and programs from the city in the last month or two. I wonder if you can share maybe a few of them that you think are most important for our audience, mostly residents here in our neighborhood. What might be due sooner than we expected, or what might be, maybe we have some more time on. What are some of the latest guidance look like from your office?
Yeah. I mean, for the most part, I think why you're hearing information and hearing about deadlines and changes in different times is because we all live in a layered system of governance, right? And so we have both local laws that we look at, but there's also state laws and federal laws that are all different pieces of our government. And so we each play a piece of this. So for example, local business taxes are very much a locally kind of regulated tax. Property taxes and all of those deadlines are regulated at the state level, for example. And then a lot of our income tax information, like federal income tax, is regulated at the federal level. So that is why, because there's different governments that are providing that information, you're hearing at it in a very piecemeal way. That being said, I think in San Francisco, I don't have the exact deadlines for you, but we can make sure to provide it to you so that you can share it with the group. But there are deferrals in terms of business filing. So if you have a business license, there are programs to allow you to defer kind of the filing and the payment of those license fees, as well as some business taxes. In terms of filing your business personal property tax, that's a state function. We've actually moved that deadline from May 7th to the end of June 1. And then the biggest one is property taxes. Again, not in my world, but the tax collector, I believe, is able to move that deadline from, it was originally April 10th to, I believe, May 15th of this month. And so in all instances, I've not heard of any instance where payment is pushed up. If anything, it's pushed backwards, and filings as well have been pushed backwards.
Okay. And you're co-chairing the Economic Recovery Task Force, as you mentioned. Yeah. Of course, really hard to fully look ahead, but I wonder if you can give us a sense of what you're going to be thinking about as you take on that role, and maybe for our members, what it might look like for residents in a neighborhood, changes to city services or changes to the budget, how that will fall down to the neighborhoods in the years to come.
Yeah, that's a huge question, Danny. So let me try to talk about it this way. I think many of you, as you've been following the news, you've heard a lot about the Bay Area's general success in terms of being able to slow the spread of COVID-19. And that came at a pretty significant change to how we live our lives. We had a pretty significant shelter in place, an extensive shelter in place that was issued amongst the earliest in the nation. And that was really part of the success that we were able to do. Since that time, the city has been doing a lot of work to respond to building up capacity, testing capacity, the purchase and acquiring of personal protective equipment, getting our hospital system ready to go in the case of a surge, and then also figuring out how we're communicating with our regional partners about things. Meanwhile, I think the state is also doing that planning work for the entire state of California as well. So again, the multi-layers of government happening here. The challenge, though, has been that with the stoppage, we've seen a pretty significant impact on our economy, and I think many of you have felt it. So you have seen that many businesses have closed and are not able to operate. What that means is that a lot of the businesses that we love and that we go to are really struggling to figure out if they can even make it through a period of time, because it is uncertain around kind of exactly when things will open. And not only that, this is not going to be necessarily a straight line trajectory in terms of an opening, or it's not as straightforward, simply because we're dealing with having to still monitor a disease that is in our community, right? And so we haven't found a cure to it yet. There's no vaccine to it. We haven't eliminated the presence of COVID-19. It's still with us. What we have successfully done, though, is made sure that it's not infecting at such a rate that overwhelms our system. So I think the economic impacts on businesses I've talked about, but on people have been big too. Our unemployment numbers have been, of course, through the roof in terms of unemployment claims. In the month of April, I think we ended the month somewhere with around 100,000 unemployment claims. And for perspective, when we were in the throes of the Great Recession, which many of us felt and knew that was a very hard time as well, that was more around the range of 45,000 unemployment claims. And so we're already well more than 2 times as much. In terms of the city's budget impact, we're looking at potentially a $1.1 to a $1.7 billion budget deficit over a 2-year period for the next 2 years. And that was our estimate at the end of March, roughly. We have the month of April's information, and so I believe the Controller's Office and others are going to true up that number and say whether or not the picture is worse or the same or different. In any case, to give you that same kind of comparison in our Great Recession challenges, during the time that we had the Great Recession, we were probably looking at a budget deficit combined for 2 years of like 700 to 800 million. So, 700 to 800 million deficit compared to 1.1 to 1.7 billion is a huge difference. And so, I think it's going to be a very, very big challenge about how it is that we're going to maintain city services and what it is that we're going to need to forego or to cut in order to make things balance out, short of some big change or some breakthrough that does happen. So as we think about kind of the economic recovery piece, we know that in the background, there's this big public health question. Are our indicators looking good? Because if they are, it allows us to be able to resume some economic activities. And to the extent that we can resume some economic activities, we're able to allow businesses to potentially sustain and also people to be employed. But I think that we all are aware that it's not without risk, right? Once we do open up parts of the economy, people are going to interact more. And when you interact more, there's just possibility of spread more. And that's just something that is not avoidable, but there are mitigations that we can put into effect. So things like the face mask that we've talked about, the social distancing, having great hygiene when it comes to washing your hands, those kinds of things are things that we can be doing, as well as putting into place certain measures that we ask open businesses to follow. So I think the way that we're all thinking about how it is that we're going to open is that it's going to be very much a health-oriented recovery. So we're going to be very much tied into the Department of Public Health, their statistics, their thinking. We're going to be having to take a look at state guidance, because you think about the state, they're going to issue sort of some thinking around how they want the state to be opening or how they're allowing the state to open. It serves more like a minimum for the entire state. And San Francisco would have to evaluate that state guidance and see whether or not there's other restrictions or other things that we need to consider, given the unique nature of how San Francisco is populated and how we're organized, because we're a dense city. We have a lot of public transit, for example. A lot of folks are living very close together and so on. So there are certain considerations that are just different for San Francisco compared to if you were in rural California, right? And so aside from kind of that health-minded recovery, I think what is likely to happen, and is clear in the state guidelines, is that likely more than anything, if the statistics on health look pretty good, and we continue to track and to monitor it, I think that we would be able to open sort of the least risky types of enterprises and businesses or operations or activities, and then gradually move to slightly more risky, depending on kind of what our health statistics look like. The things that could be really big in terms of helping to move that needle, though, is if we had massive testing, which we currently don't have at the scale that's necessary. If we had sort of not only the massive testing, but the pervasiveness and culture of testing, which we currently don't have. So I think that's going to be a big thing that public health is going to be thinking about and talking about. There needs to be some kind of a community spread kind of surveillance process where we're able to detect how the virus is spreading and at what point it's picking up speed, so that we know when we need to be responding. And that hasn't happened. We have to put that in place. there is currently different surveillance work that we're doing, but it needs to happen at a mass scale for the economy to come back at a mass scale, so to speak. So I guess we're thinking about those things. Aside from that, I'll just stop with two other pieces of it, which is COVID-19 will probably be with us for a long period of time, short of a scientific breakthrough, right? And so if it is, we understand that as we watch health indicators, it may go up and down. And so we're thinking about how we're going to build a resilient economy that allows businesses to be able to weather the ups and downs, but also workers to be able to weather the ups and downs. That's something that's pretty important to how we're thinking about recovery. And then finally, I think COVID-19 is just simply going to change the way that we think about how we're interacting. It will change how we're utilizing our public spaces and just spaces in general, and how we do our work. And I think it also changes because it accelerates sort of the changing of industries that are in the city. And as a result of that, I think we have to also be thinking about the long term for San Francisco. We're going to have limited resources, but what is it that we need to be doing now to plan for that future and make sure that we're best positioned to thrive when we're coming out of it? So sorry that it was so long-winded, but there's just been a lot of thinking and a lot of discussions that we've been having with different folks about how we might move forward.
Well, thank you. And there's so much to dig in there. I want to ask, before you run, I want to surface one question from the community, which is from Teddy. He asks, if you could change one thing in the city of San Francisco to jumpstart local small businesses, what would it be? Capital infusion, ease of zoning restrictions, mixed use, grants? What can we do to reinvigorate small businesses?
So the question is, what is the one thing that we can do to reinvigorate small businesses, or for the opening, huh? I mean, right now, I think my mind is very much on the health-mindedness of everything. I think we can do a lot of work in terms of reviewing what the barriers are that we put up there, like the administrative barriers and those kinds of things that are problematic for businesses as they kind of try to restart. But at the end of the day, we will never even get to that conversation unless we truly figure out how it is that we're going to get kind of the public health and testing elements at a place where our public health official is allowing activities to happen. So I think the biggest area of focus where we need to be right now is really to think of the different mitigations and the ways that we can make testing pervasive and mass and on a mass scale. So I think those are top of mind for me right now, because it is the immediate question that we are trying to ask. We ultimately can't even get to these, we're going to be thinking about them, but we can't even implement kind of some of these things that will help regulatorily or otherwise for businesses unless we can answer that health question first and allow our health officials to have the comfort of being able to open up activity in order to help some businesses have a way to do their work.
And Carmen, if folks want to get in touch with you or your office, what is the best way for them to do that?
Actually, my plug for you, I hope, is that there are a lot of really great people who are probably listening in. Some of you are business owners, some of you know business owners, or you're just consumers or residents who have great ideas about how we should be approaching economic recovery, either ways that we can be safely reopening or other big ideas for us to be thinking about. If you do have those ideas, I hope that you will go to our website, which is called onesanfrancisco.org. And if you click on the COVID-19 link, you will actually be brought to a page that shares all of the information that we have, our task force members, PowerPoint presentations from our meetings, as well as a public survey that is asking those questions that we most want to hear from you on the ground. And so I hope that you'll participate that way. But if you have questions about economic recovery, we want to funnel it all to one place so we can capture your questions and make sure that we're documenting it. And that is at recoverysf@sfgov.org. So recoverysf@sfgov.org. But if you just want to reach me because you want to talk to me, you can email me at carmen.chu@sfgov.org.
And I know you mentioned certificates, marriages. Are we going to be seeing Zoom weddings soon? What does that look like?
Yeah, you know, it's actually a good question because the state of California, the governor's office actually just recently announced the possibility of having marriage licenses be done electronically or done online. So that's a very, very new thing. I don't think that we're there yet, but I think that we're going to be looking at what that option will look like because, you know, we still hope that if people want to get married, we can still make that happen for everybody. And you know what? Honestly, at this time, there are some serious cases where we really do want to help people get married right now because they need health insurance or for any other reasons, they may just really need to get married right away. So
Yeah.
we are trying to make that happen.
Well, good. Well, Carmen, so appreciate you spending some time with us tonight, and we've got links in the chat that you've been putting in there for our members to follow up on. But we'll let you go. Have the rest of the evening, and again, thanks for joining us virtually here.
Thank you, everybody. Please stay safe.
Thanks. Okay, so we're going to spend maybe 15 to 20 minutes talking about some of the work that the Neighborhood Association has been doing. And I want to bring some of the great members and board members who have been participating in those programs into the conversation tonight as well. I want to start quickly with an update that some of you may have seen from the North Beach Farmers Market. And so, you know, we were hoping a week ago now to open for our third year. We were really excited for that. And as you can imagine, those plans have changed. If you've visited the market at the corner of Columbus and Filbert, you know that we're in a small space there in that parking lot. And so that makes it really challenging for us to operate the market and to do so in a way that is compliant with the need to be apart from each other right now. And so, you know, we looked at this, you know, myself and Dario and Nick and the whole farmers market team looked at this, and we decided that we couldn't reopen safely right now, given that space. All that being said, we're of course sad that that is the reality we're in. We are looking at the possibility of offering some farmers market boxes from some of our vendors, and to start that way, if we can even do a month and a half of that to get some of the connection back with the farms that I know many of you are missing, we might start that way. We're also looking at other sites nearby. There's a lot that goes into changing the site, unfortunately, but we're hopeful that we might be able to do that quickly. We might have one or two sites that we're looking at step up and help us there in a space that's bigger, a space that would allow us to have more people in the market and have these stalls safely apart from each other. So we're hopeful that we can get something in the works there. If you have feedback, please let us know. We also have a separate newsletter just for our farmers market. If you're not on that, you can sign up for that at northbeachfarmersmarket.com, and we'll keep you posted there. And we're going to probably put out a survey this week on about that farmers market box, what kind of items you would like in there, what sizes you might like. So we're trying to figure out the best way to start that. Cool. I wanted to mention one thing to piggyback on the last conversation, talking about reopening and such. It is getting a little bit overwhelming and confusing with different dates between a state level, a regional level here, a city level. From San Francisco's perspective, you might see a lot of businesses reopening or starting back up on the 18th. That's kind of the next checkpoint that a lot of businesses are allowed to operate. And it's a very slow incremental rebuild. It's in most cases, it's something like allowing a curbside pickup. So, you know, there's a lot of bookstores, for example, that are allowing curbside pickup on the 18th. There's some other goods stores and hobby stores that will allow that again on the 18th. So keep that in mind. We'll do our best to share what businesses here are reopening. For example, I don't think they've come out with any news, but technically something like City Lights would be allowed to offer curbside pickup on the 18th. I don't think they've said they'll do that. I sure hope they will, though. But more businesses will be doing that in our neighborhood. You probably have also noticed that a lot of restaurants are adapting and trying to do to-go, and especially in the last week or two, a lot of those are coming back. So some optimism, but certainly a lot of caution as well. So just wanted to share that update on what it looks like for San Francisco. Now I want to move to allow our treasurer, Ted Camazano, to give an update on some donations that the organization made, and just to highlight again some of the nonprofits that are doing great work in our neighborhood. So Ted, if you're on here, we'll kick it over to you for you to take it away. Don't see Ted's name here. Maybe we're joining by phone. Well, Ted, if you are on here, if we're missing you, why don't you send us a message in the chat, because we don't see your name on here right now. We'll give that a minute. We'll let Ted hopefully jump back in and give that update. In the meantime, I will introduce instead, and he'll do his best to replace Ted. I'll introduce Tony Wessling, and Tony will give us an update on slow streets, what that means for North Beach, or what it doesn't mean for North Beach, and how we might change that. So, Tony, if you wouldn't mind giving us an update.
Sure. First of all, Ted is inimitable. There's no way I could ever replace Ted. I want to, Danny, I want to share my screen here in a sec. Basically, what's been coming up has been a pilot program by the SFMTA, Muni, and they are looking at ways of allowing greater social distancing on the sidewalks, and also allowing for businesses to operate more freely with, say, curbside or sidewalk tables and curbside pickup. In order to do that, of course, you have to take away either a lane of parking or a lane of traffic. And on smaller streets, they're also looking to allow people, like pedestrians, human beings on foot and bicycle and whatever else you can self-propel, to recreate in the streets. Those are called slow streets. And so they basically put up signs and cones, and you're still allowed to go onto the street. You know, if you live there, or if you're making a delivery, it's always open for fire access and such. But basically, the streets are designated as streets where cars are guests, so that people have a chance to get out and do some recreation, chat 6 feet away from their neighbors with their masks on, and enjoy the nice weather, enjoy some fresh air, because it's pretty tough to be cooped up all the time, as we all know. So what's interesting to us, or maybe a little disappointing, is that none of these slow street pilot projects are taking place in District 3. It's a mystery as to why. We have some of the densest neighborhoods here, some of the highest pedestrian rates, and some businesses and people who really need that extra space. And so to find out whether or not there was support for this, we undertook a survey. And so this is what I want to share right now, Danny. I'm going to go to, if I can find it, Keynote. Slow streets. All right, so hopefully you can all see this here. The survey we did got 129 respondents, so really pretty impressive, and we're pretty happy about that. The vast majority were from 94133 zip code, with a few other folks from the surrounding neighborhoods as well chiming in. And we asked people, how do you get where you're going when you're going within the neighborhood? You know, do you drive a car? Do you walk, ride a bike? Do you take some sort of other form of motorized transportation, like a scooter or a motorcycle, or do you do taxi or ride share? Turns out that 80% of the respondents walk or ride a bicycle when they're doing their errands within the neighborhood. This probably comes as no surprise. And you have to also probably imagine that those who do drive a car or take taxi or ride share may be people with mobility challenges, or people who who may live on the upper reaches of the neighborhood, which makes it difficult sometimes to go back up and down with a load of groceries. So, but the vast majority of the people who responded to the survey walk or ride a bicycle when they do errands within the neighborhood. We asked them, do you think that the sidewalks are wide enough to practice the responsible social distancing that we've all been asked to practice? A significant majority, a supermajority, 67% said no, they are not wide enough. A quarter of the respondents said yes, they are wide enough, and another 8% were basically unsure, not too wide, not too whatever, just not enough to make a definitive judgment. But as you can see, the supermajority of respondents here in North Beach believe that the sidewalks are not wide enough for us to practice the requested and responsible social distancing. And if you've ever walked down Columbus Avenue, you know that. It's no surprise. Also, Grant Avenue, very similar. But even some of the side streets have very, very narrow sidewalks. And so then we said, well, okay, so if we need social distancing, since our lifeblood of a lot of the businesses in this neighborhood is restaurants, cafes, and bars, should they be allowed to have outdoor seating? Should we make some sort of allowance for this? 76% said that yes, we need to make some sort of allowance for outdoor seating for these critical businesses. 18% said that no, we should not make that, and 6% were neutral or said they didn't know. So again, huge amount of support for making space available for our restaurants, cafes, and bars to do what they do and what we all enjoy, while allowing us all to keep our responsible social distance. And so, of course, it's one thing to say that we need wider sidewalks, but the real crux of the challenge here is that does mean taking away either parking or a lane of travel. These are two things that are normally, at least in the eyes of many of the merchants and our elected officials and departments, these things are untouchable, right? You don't take away parking, you don't take away a lane of travel. That just simply is not done. Of course, this is an extraordinary situation that we're in here. And so it seems as though our respondents recognize that. Again, a huge majority, 77%, saying that yes, we should temporarily remove a lane of parking or vehicle traffic in order to get sidewalk widened for outdoor seating. Again, the outdoor seating would also come in conjunction with the ability to social distance. At the moment, there's no possible way in most situations where you could, let alone just walk and practice social distancing, let alone have a cafe table and then also practice social distancing. It's just not physically possible. So, okay, we have this vast majority here support this. The question is where? Where would we want to go? Which of these main North Beach streets, we asked them, do you believe should have parking or travel lanes temporarily given over to use for pedestrians and restaurants? And I'll bring this up a little bit so that you can see a little bit better. So Columbus in its entirety, from Beach to Broadway, it got a significant number of votes. Columbus between Bay and Broadway, people are actually appear to be more interested in the full Monty, as it were, and Columbus only between Union and Broadway that had a fair amount of support. And by the way, you could choose more than one of these, so these are cumulative. Stockton between Filbert and Broadway was also a strong favorite. People are not that interested in a limited change between Filbert and Columbus on Stockton. Grant Avenue, by far and away, people want to see Grant Avenue open for business. They want the merchants there to thrive, and they want to be able to enjoy it. Again, these are not tourists who are saying this. These are not people who are coming over the bridge or through the tunnel. These are people who live here. People, a significant majority, over 50%, nearly 60%, want Grant Avenue to be pedestrianized, at least temporarily. And smaller number, Grant between Vallejo and Green. And then we did some write-in, which I'll show you those next. But then 15% of the people of the respondents believe that we should not close any of these streets. So there was a small dissenting vote there. So when we asked, this is the write-in, people wrote in as many as possible. Columbus between Jones and Montgomery, minimum. Francisco between Grant and Stockton, top of the Francisco stairs. Green between Columbus and Grant, which is one I should have put into that because that's a very popular restaurant street. And somebody said, I don't believe any part of Columbus or Stockton should be closed off at all because these are the major thoroughfares. This respondent said there are plenty of spaces in North Beach to limit and still have enough space for everyone. So again, not the 100% agreement, but some thoughtful disagreement there. I would love to see Columbus completely closed off to cars rather than just removing a parking or travel lane. I would love, Jefferson was noted, Stockton between Columbus and Union between Columbus and Grant. And so those are the write-ins. And so another question we asked them, which side streets or alleyways should be posted as slow streets? Again, what we're talking about here is not removing parking or a travel lane, but rather putting up signage to slow traffic that might otherwise use those streets as cut through. And so Vallejo between Columbus and Grant came out way in front there. Valparaiso Alley, Water Street, Vanderwater, Bantam Alley, Jasper, Venice, and then some of the write-ins. And again, a slightly higher percentage of people saying that none of these should be turned into slow streets. When we asked people to write in, other places they came up with were Bantam, Filbert, Francisco between Stockton and Grant, Green between Columbus and Grant, and Greenwich between Columbus and Leavenworth, Pfeiffer Street, Scotland Street, Sonoma, all the alleyways in North Beach, and all the alleyways and side streets can be considered. So you can see there's a significant desire to see some of our side streets turned into streets for people and not just places where cars travel through. So then we said, okay, here's the tough question. If these things prove popular, if we close them off and turns out it wasn't Carmageddon, much as Mason Street, where the library is now, used to be a through street, opposition predicted Carmageddon, predicted all sorts of terrible things visited upon our neighborhood if we closed Mason, very popular street, cutting through to the wharf. But it didn't happen. So we asked them, we want to know, what do you think? If it was popular and workable, could we make it permanent? Yes. 64% of the respondents said, yes, make it permanent. Again, a similar number, no, saying, don't close them under any circumstances, or keep those alterations permanent under any circumstances. And then 13% were neutral. So the basic gist of the survey, I think, is pretty clear. Um, that our neighborhood is suffering. The businesses are suffering. We as residents are suffering. Our kids can't play. It's hard to take a walk. Our favorite restaurants and bars and cafes are only able to do takeout, and it's difficult. And we love these businesses, and we love our neighbors, and we love our neighborhood, and we really, I think, as a group, or in terms of these respondents, we want our neighborhood to have more slow streets and to have wider sidewalks, so that we can enjoy our neighborhood once again as things begin to reopen, and also so that going forward, we quickly revitalize the neighborhood. We need these streets to be, and these sidewalks to be available for people, and not just for car storage or traffic from one side of town to the other. And so that's the basic upshot. And so, look at this old picture of Columbus Avenue. When you say it can't be done, it can be done. It used to be this way. Look at all the people out in the street. Look at all the shops. We're all going to be doing things differently here in the future. I imagine that for a lot of us, that means we're going to be local. I can tell you that more people have discovered my corner greengrocer over here than I ever thought possible, seeing lines out the door. And it's because they never bothered to stop in there before, until Trader Joe's and Safeway were completely backed up, and then say, well, maybe I'll stop in there. Turns out it's a nice place. They've got great produce. They've got a full range of products. So I think that to make our neighborhood vital again, like we see here in this photograph, we do need to think about this in a long-term way, but in the short term, here's what you can do. In the short term, you got to tell the mayor, you got to tell Supervisor Peskin, and you got to tell Director Tumlin from SFMTA that this is what we want. We want these streets now. We don't want to wait a couple of years after a pilot project on the other side of town to come around here after we've been bumping along for a few years. So you can get in touch with them directly. You can also pester them on Twitter. I didn't put Aaron's Twitter, but you can find him. He's easy enough to find. But get in touch with these people. They're the ones who are going to make it happen, and they need to hear from all of us. We, of course, will provide this survey to them, but this is what needs to be done. We need grassroots effort on this. And post COVID-19, here's how you can help, just in general, to make our streets better for people. Bike share stations and parklets. They're popular. They help the businesses. We don't have enough of them. Bike lanes and racks. We don't have any dedicated bike infrastructure here in District 3. None in North Beach. None in the inner part of the densest part of the city. We need streets for people. The sidewalks are too narrow. You saw that beautiful picture of Columbus Avenue. That's the way it should be here. This should be like a wonderful village in the heart of San Francisco, not some place that people drive through to get to the marina or get out to Marin, or vice versa, to get downtown really quickly. We have a neighborhood. We need to reclaim it. And finally, join North Beach Neighbors. Here on our Complete Streets Committee, we're doing everything we can to make North Beach this vibrant village that supports family, community, and local businesses. And making our streets work for people is really one of the most important steps. So thanks, and I'll take any questions there.
Tony, thank you for laying this all out, for explaining these responses. Tracy asked if you could refresh us on how many respondents you got. I think you had that at the beginning.
I did. So Tracy, we had 129 respondents, and of those, let me pull back to it here. The vast majority, 122 of them, came from 94133. 94109 was next, and then uh, one person each from 108 and 941. So this is a very, very local group that we're looking at here.
And I will make another plug for joining the group and for specifically joining Tony's committee. Tony's committee is Complete Streets. It's one of our 5 or 6 committees. And even though we can't be together right now, there's actually a lot of ways you can support this committee. There are SFMTA meetings that are now being held virtually. So if there's a street project that you were passionate about, but maybe weren't so passionate in the past to go off and take off half your workday to sit at City Hall to give a 2-minute comment, you can now do that virtually over the phone. And so we're hoping that simple change alone will help raise and allow some of the voices from the neighborhood and from this organization to be a little bit louder in those meetings in the future. So we'll keep you posted as particular projects come along for North Beach, but this right now is our focus, is slow streets, and we're going to get this survey out there because it is a clear ringing endorsement for this program in North Beach. And Jenny says that slow streets on Lake in Richmond have had limited success. They might want to follow up with them, of course, and that's part of the benefit, if there is a benefit of going 2nd and 3rd years. We can learn from those early programs and projects and see how we can do them better here. Wonderful. Well, Tony, thank you again. I want to share a few more updates from the group, and then we'll go to our final 2 speakers. So earlier I referenced our donations, and I do want to just read that off quickly in Ted's absence. We were able to make 4 different donations to nonprofit partners across the northeastern corner of San Francisco. And this really came after our conversation last month, from hearing what they were doing to support our neighborhood and knowing that there is such a need right now. You know, we wanted to contribute what we could at this moment to those organizations. So we were able to give out 4 donations, each in the amount of $500. So we did a $2,000 total donation split evenly between Tel High Neighborhood Center, which works with so many in our community as our neighborhood center, Next Village, which works with our seniors in the district and in the neighborhood, such an important population to take care of right now, Francisco Middle School, for their efforts to get grocery cards in the hands of their students and families, and then finally North Beach Citizens, to take care of our vulnerable homeless population in this moment. So we were really happy to do what we could with a $500 donation to each of those nonprofits. We know that many of you already support those and have done for years. If you don't know about any of those organizations, we hope this is an invitation for you to learn a little bit more about them and join them and consider supporting them with what you can. So appreciate the board's support to make those donations right now. And another program that we're really investing in right now is something that is called North Beach Delivers. And that is our effort to support local restaurants right now by really taking a hands-on approach where each week we highlight a different restaurant and we actually supply a team of volunteers to them to facilitate those deliveries. So we want to spend a few minutes giving you maybe a behind-the-scenes look at what that actually has been like for the last 3 or 4 weeks since we started this program. We put this program together really quickly, and it was a ragtag team of volunteers who got it off the ground, and we've been so happy with its growth and success so far. We are entering our 4th week here, and it's gotten to the point now where we are having restaurants come to us and ask to be featured on this program in the future. We have a wait list of 3 or 4 weeks in the future, and that's really exciting for us. It's also gotten to the point where we have other neighborhood associations, be it in the Richmond or be it in Russian Hill, or even now in the Tenderloin, that are coming to us and saying, hey, how do we do this? You know, this is something small, of course, yes it is, but it's something really impactful, something really visible to lift the spirits of residents and connect them to restaurants right now. So we're working with other groups to give them our playbook and show them the example of what we're doing in our neighborhood to spread that impact. And that is something that is really exciting to build our impact. But it's a real team behind this effort. And that's why tonight I want to ask and invite each of them to briefly give an update. What we're going to do is have them walk us through the last 3 weeks and just give a synopsis, a summary of how those went. So first, I'll let Sri Artham, our small business chair, take us behind the scenes of week 1 with Piazza Pellegrini. Sri.
Hey everyone, good evening. It's so nice to be able to hang out with all of you, even if it's still virtual. At least I can feel your presence all around me staring at your computers. It's great. Yeah, the first one we did was 3 weeks ago, and it was with Piazza Pellegrini, our local hero, Dario, who, is a host of our farmers market. I saw him while I was walking my dog, who's sitting right next to me here, to Washington Square Park, and saw him there, and he shared this idea that we had brainstormed, and he was all in. And, that's kind of the scariest moment, is to take a leap of faith that we were going to kind of promise him all these orders. He had to do some logistical work, but he was just awesome. And so always share your appreciation with Dario for what he's done for our neighborhood. Personally, what I liked the most about it was, as a volunteer delivery person, was being able to deliver meals to people and see the joy in their face of having someone show up, someone who maybe they even recognize in their neighborhood, offering a meal that they feel like they've been missing out on for a couple months. So that's my plug. If you want a reason to walk outside and greet your neighbors, we're all wearing gloves and masks, being very safe, but a chance to get outside and climb some hills and meet some neighbors. We would love the support for additional volunteers. So that's my secret agenda in sharing my update.
Thanks, Sri. And to recap week 2, we're gonna give it over to Teddy.
Hey everybody, Teddy Kramer here. Some of you may have seen me in some of Danny's trivia nights for the past few weeks, and some of you may know me locally throughout the community. For week 2 for North Beach Delivers, we highlighted Norin Izakaya. Norin Izakaya is on the corner of Union and Powell. You may remember it as Sushi Hunter. Obviously, as you can imagine, all restaurants are going through a really tough time, but Norin Izakaya really was having some challenges with their business. And in our North Beach Delivers highlight for them that week, we did over $1,300 worth of business across 36 orders. It probably was our toughest night to date. There was a lot of running around, but I think what has made it so amazing is that we pulled it together. We had some deliveries that were a little bit late, but we figured it out. We profusely apologized. And I think the neighborhood and the community really appreciated, and especially Christy, who is the owner of the establishment at Norin Izakaya, really appreciated the work that we did. To follow up, as Sri did, in terms of a plug, for those of you who have the ability and are interested, we'd love to have more delivery volunteers. People who can give up a few hours on a Thursday night. Why do I enjoy it? It's a great way to get to know some of the local small businesses, re-engage with restaurants you maybe never knew about or you haven't revisited in a while. And one of the larger picture things that we're working on as a group is providing advice for restaurants during this tough time, giving them guidelines on how they can survive during, to be blunt, an economic crisis. Limiting their menu selections, which will cut down on overhead, taking advantage of the opportunity to sell, to have alcohol delivered. That is an opportunity for them to really boost revenue. So we're doing everything that we can, and it's been an amazing team effort. And thanks to all of you who have ordered, thanks to you who have volunteered, and thanks to those of you who will volunteer and order in the future. We really hope that you can participate and support us however possible, and support the wonderful restaurants that make our community so special. So thanks again.
Thank you, Teddy. And last, we're going to take a look at our Mother's Day extravaganza on Sunday. If Eric, do you want to walk us through that?
Yes, hi, I'm Eric. So we had instead of on a typical Thursday evening, we had it yesterday morning. Yesterday morning for the brunch, Mother's Day brunch. And we also introduced a different factor to it too. We had hole-in-the-wall coffee provide coffee, ground coffee beans for sale. And we also had a florist, I forgot the name of the florist, from Polk Street to provide tulips. So that was a little bit more complex arrangement as opposed to just working with just one restaurant. We were working with Pat's Cafe down at Taylor, and a number of, I don't know, Teddy knows where all the addresses are, And I think most of them were on the northern side of North Beach. But I enjoyed the walk. It's a wonderful opportunity for me to get my exercise in. Unfortunately, people don't know who I am because I'm wearing my mask and nobody can see who I am. And but it's a very worthwhile opportunity. And one of the things is that we can envision going forward that restaurants will be doing more takeout deliveries, and they need to figure out how to do it without the 30% extra that would be normally given to businesses like Grubhub or Uber Eats or something like that. And what we're doing is helping them save that 30%. And if this is something that can be somehow made viable for everyone, this will be a huge game changer going forward for everybody, even after this crisis is over. And let's just see what's going to happen. So,
Thanks, Eric, and just want to highlight some of the comments here too. So, from yesterday, over $2,000 in revenue across 3 businesses: Hole in the Wall, Pat's Cafe, and Polk Street Florist, and then $200 alone in tips to Pat's staff and team. So, really exciting day yesterday. Let's see, Laura Mancuso from our board has the idea of opening this up to other businesses in the neighborhood once curbside gets underway. And sorry, just to reiterate all this, and Sri says, yes, we've been chatting with Lynette about doing it for Jeffries. If there's other businesses we could do pickups from, gift shops, Lola, Rendezvous, groceries. And so really been a fun project. And I'm glad that the rest of the crew got to share their experience, because it's been a real team effort. And if you want to join that scrappy team, this Thursday night is a great chance to come along, even if it's just for an hour or 2 of deliveries. We can slot you into a shift, and you can help us out, meet the restaurant, run up some of the hills in North Beach, and have some fun with it. This week, we've got a really exciting menu and addition on deck. We have Family Cafe, and this is an exclusive because the email doesn't go out till tomorrow morning. So this is why we're all here. We're getting that exclusive look. Family Cafe. It's one of our newer restaurants in North Beach, and also, personal opinion, one of our more exciting additions that we've had, frankly, in years. A wonderful, very homey Japanese cafe on the corner of Vallejo and Columbus, right next to Buster's, around the corner from Trieste. Just an incredible menu, an incredible operator, Jessica, and it's going to be a real fun evening. So if you haven't had the chance to try her food, Thursday's a great time to do it. We'll put that menu out tomorrow morning to our email list and give you about 36 hours to put your orders in. Cool. So last but not least, I just want to make one final plug for membership. If you're not a member yet, please do join. You can go to northbeachneighbors.org/membership. We have really affordable options, and we have different phases there, be it for a business owner or for a single member or a household. So we want to make sure you're a member. Some of the programs you've been hearing about tonight, they wouldn't be possible without your support financially. So a really good opportunity to join if you're not yet a member. All that being said, we have 2 final guest speakers tonight. I know we're a little bit behind schedule, but I think it'll be worth it. And first, I want to turn it over to Chloe. So Chloe's going to share a project that she's been working on, and something that I think is really an exciting kind of response from the community to some of the everyday problems that we're seeing right now in the neighborhood. So I will, Chloe, I'll let you share your screen if you'd like, if that's helpful, but otherwise I'll let you take it away for the next 5 or 10 minutes.
Yeah, thanks, Danny. Can everybody hear me? This is Chloe. I'm gonna share my screen. So I'm a software engineer, and since the breakout of COVID-19, can you guys see my screen? I think you can. Okay, great. So I have been thinking a lot about the impact of the pandemic, and I really have a lot of sympathies for the local business owners, because we're all this shelter in place policy got delayed for so long, and there's really not a clear plan on what to do. So I was just sitting at home and thinking about how I can help, and me and my other friend who's also a software engineer, we built a website called Grocery Go, and we want to highlight small local grocery stores that are, normally that are not easy to discover on Google Map. So we want to highlight in here. Basically, the idea is that, there are so many, wonderful local grocery stores or liquor stores that have a lot of stuff we need, but they're just a little bit hard to find unless you live in that neighborhood, right? So I think Tony was just talking about how like most people go to Whole Foods or Safeway most of the time, but then like since the shelter in place policy started, like people start to walk by like local grocery stores because they don't want to go too far out to buy groceries. So this project is precisely designed so that we can highlight those places. A few weeks ago, I actually joined one of Danny's a day in the district meeting, and he was having an interview with one of the small grocery store, which is called Le Ball, I think, market. Yeah, so I added this wonderful store in our in grocery store map, and basically the way you use this is that you can just look at the map for small grocery stores in San Francisco, and then you can look at what is in stock. They actually have a lot of things in stock except for hand sanitizers. And you can also add reports to see, what do people, think about this place. And I actually added this because I called them. I'm hoping that I can, share this project with as many people as possible, because, if everyone who goes grocery shopping can update what they find in the store, then, together, it can save everyone some time to, go to different places and look for what they need. So this is the idea. I actually haven't shared this project with a lot of people, so yeah, you might notice that this is a little empty. I have been a little bit shy about like sharing this because, as an engineer, I kind of know where I can improve in terms of the design and but anyways, there's been, I've highlighted about 10 stores, and some of them are really close to where I live. And for example, another example is Ohloni's Market. This is a really, really small hole in the wall kind of liquor place that nobody will even notice unless you live in Lower Haight. But they're wonderful people. I think the owner is an immigrant from, I don't remember, but he's a wonderful person, and they actually have a lot of hand sanitizers, toilet papers, and all the essentials you're looking for that you cannot find on Amazon, Safeway, or Whole Foods. They have it all. It's just that most people don't even know about this place unless they walk past here, or they somehow know that it's there. So I talked to the owner, and I told him that I really want to help, and he says this is a great idea. So as for the next step, I'm gonna try to reach out to the stores and then maybe put up posters on the door front so that more people can contribute. I'm also excited to share this with you all, and know what you think about this, and maybe I can share this with the North Beach neighborhood so that people can contribute and add reports. One last thing that I want to say is that we can also add stores to the map. So right now I only have 10, but I actually want to reach out to our community to see if you know any stores in your neighborhood that's wonderful and you think that it should be highlighted. So here you can tell us about the store name, the address, and phone number. And once you add a store, I will look up where the store is, and then I will highlight it on the map so that people can find it. And I know that we've been having a lot of discussions about how to help local small business owners during this tough time. If you guys have any suggestions, please let me know. I've also thought about like expanding the project a little bit so that we can also highlight cafes. I'm a huge coffee lover. I love North Beach, love the neighborhood. I can maybe add it the cafes here, or I can do a, cafe map so that, coffee lovers can be like, oh yeah, like, there's so many wonderful places in North Beach, which one should I go to? Like all those are, possible. Yeah. So that's pretty much all I have. And I'm seeing a lot of chats in the chat. Yeah.
Chloe, this
Great.
is awesome.
Yeah.
It's awesome that you're doing this. It's awesome that you're coming to the group here to share it and be open to feedback. And you can see here in the chat, everyone has their personal experience to share, of where they're finding the products and the goods right now. And that's exactly, I think, why you built this. So is the site live? Can people go to it right now?
Yeah, I can share the link. It's available, and it's in production. All we call it. And just to quickly answer some questions. Jenny asked, how can we add stores? So just go to the top right. There's like 3 dots, and then you click add store, and then that's how you add store. And yes, you can add real reviews. And Carol asked, how often will it be updated? So I want to at least have 1 report per day. So what I would do is, sometimes I would go to these grocery stores myself, or I will call them to ask them if they have the essentials. But my dream is that everyone can use it, so that whenever someone goes through the store, they can add their report and share it with the community.
Cool. And if people want to get in touch with you, Chloe, will you share your email in the chat?
Yeah, absolutely. I can definitely share it here. And let me share the address of the website first. So it is www.grocerygo.org, and you can also reach me at chloewjlin@gmail.com. I also applied a Gmail account for Grocery Go. It's on the website. So if you go to the dots on the top right and then go to FAQ, contact, then you can find out about us and why we voted. Yeah. So I can also give the link to Danny afterwards, and mail this to everybody. Yeah. Sorry.
Thank you again for building this in the first place, sharing it, and we're really excited to see it, and glad that you're working on it.
Yeah, thank you, Danny, for letting me present to this wonderful community.
Of course. Glad you're here. Well, wonderful. I know, again, we're a little bit behind time. I promise this next and final segment is going to be worth it. The last month or two, I think, is showing us the importance of neighborhood and of people stepping up. And we have so many examples of that in our own history here in North Beach. And for me, kind of through the years, as I've learned more and more about the figure and the man and the story of A.P. Giannini, he is someone who personifies the best of San Francisco. And in a recovery like we will have in the months ahead, I think his past work, which you'll learn about tonight, really exemplifies what we need in this moment. So that introduction, a long-winded way of introducing our next 2 speakers, Davide and Anna, who are going to share the documentary, A Little Fellow, or The Little Fellow, I think, of A.P. Giannini, and they will share their documentary, maybe a trailer if we get lucky tonight, and take us behind the scenes of their project and their work to profile one of San Francisco's great figures and one of North Beach's great stories. So take it from here, please.
Hi, so I'm Anna Leclerc. I'm the lead producer on A Little Fellow. Danny, thank you so much for having us tonight, and thank you, North Beach neighbors, for inviting us to be a part of this whole Zoom meeting. It's been really wonderful to hear about everything that's going on with you guys. I am a San Francisco resident. I've been in the area for about 13 years, originally from the Central Coast. My partner Davide, who's the director of the film, we are putting together this documentary, as you said, about AP Giannini, and it's really been, we found that this time is, like you said, so kind of reminiscent of the time that Giannini lived in, because I don't know how many of you know his history, but he was just such an incredible man. He started the Bank of Italy in 1906 to be able to provide an opportunity for people who didn't have the means originally to go to a bank. So banks were originally for kind of higher classes. They were very limited in their hours, and they often did not provide loans that were small enough that people of the working class, who are like farmers, didn't have access to. So AP was just an incredible man, a forward thinker who was always just trying to progress San Francisco and California, and what he did ultimately affected the entire country and the world. And so his small little Bank of Italy by 1930 turned into the Bank of America, and he was the first guy out there to provide loans as low as $25, as low as $5 if needed, to individuals after the 1906 earthquake. And he did it so much on the promise of a handshake. He, you know, without having logs and contracts, he if someone said, AP, I will pay you back, he operated on a handshake, and he got all of that money back. And then after World War I and World War II, AP again was there not only for the nation, but specifically for San Francisco, and specifically very much for North Beach. North Beach was one of the first sections of San Francisco to come back after the 1906 earthquake, because he was out there giving these loans to the community. So just after World War II, he helped the city of San Francisco by purchasing the bonds that built the Golden Gate Bridge. And he did that on a zero interest loan to the city of San Francisco to help get the city back up and running after World War I and after the Great Depression. So I feel like this is a time where he would be again here kind of in spirit to help us come out of this and to get us up and running. So we're doing a documentary on AP. There's never been a full-length documentary on AP Giannini. We're looking specifically at the man because his story was one of hope and inspiration and a type of character and loving of other people, no matter where you came from, who you were. And it's something that I think, especially now when we all look for community, it's a story that we can all remember and really kind of relate to in this time of garnering a sense of community. So we're here to show you tonight. I'll share my screen with you. A couple images that we have about our film and some of the wonderful people that we've met along the way. So let's see. Let's see here.
While Anna is looking for a picture, I want to say hi and thank you, Danny, for having us. As you can hear from my accent, I'm Italian, not Italian American, I'm Italian. I just moved from Italy 4 years ago. And I had a period, just to give you a quick background on my experience. I used to walk the North Beach neighbor, and I found the plaque of AP Giannini. I didn't know his story till then. I was without job at the beginning because I was expecting my work permit, And once I discovered this story, and I discovered that there was no documentary about him except a few documentaries back in the days talking about the Bank of America, I said, my job is filmmaking. I'm a filmmaker, professional filmmaker, and I'm working on multiple projects right now. And I say, why this story is not being told? And as soon as I get deeper and deeper in the story, I was really shocked by the story. The fact that he was the first banker, of course, giving loan to poor people, working people, but at the same time, he was the first banker to write all his text in his bank in multiple languages, not only English, but Russian, Polish, Italian, to serve as much as possible the community, a community made of immigrants. He was the first one that in 1923 opened the women department, because he trusted, he believed that women have the right to have their own bank account. And this is in 1923. And then he believed in the Hollywood industry. He believed in this guy, in this director that was looking for a loan for chairs for his theater. This guy was Charlie Chaplin. And literally, he founded the first feature film. Actually, not the first feature film, but his first, The Kid. And then another guy was looking for money from the Hollywood industry, but he was considered crazy one. He was not considered a realistic opportunity of investing money. And this guy was Walt Disney. Giannini believed in him and founded his first feature film. He funded his Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. And then he moved down to LA, and at that point, all the movies industries, companies came to him to ask for loan. And then he helped the 20th Century Fox, he helped the MGM, he helped the Paramount, and he opened a movie department in his own bank. So, and that's just part of his job. Then he continued to help the people from the agricultural to the movie industry to the soldiers during the World War II. He helped the industry, the agricultural industry, and in converting the produce for the war. And then when he used to say that a man cannot own more than $500,000 in his bank account, as owner of the biggest bank at the time in the world, every time he had more than that amount, he was giving money to Stanford. He was giving money to Berkeley University to develop the agricultural business. And it was funny because when he died, his daughter and son, they found not that much money, because he gave till the end to university, because he believed in the study. He believed in science, he believed, and to me, this story is overwhelming, because really it sounds like a prophecy, thinking that he died in 1949 and is so contemporary, is really contemporary.
And we just have a few minutes left, so I wanted to see if we could do a trailer to explain more of that.
Yes, Anna, can I share the trailer? So we have 2 minutes. Can I share? Do you have it or?
Oh, great. Yep.
Oh,
is that working? Oh,
perfect.
Wonderful.
Okay, cool.
So, so this is our film. Just to give a little background, these are, this is Virginia Hammerness and Ann McWilliams. They are the granddaughters of A.P. Giannini. So you'll see them in our trailer. This is a little bit of our behind the scenes on set of Anne talking about her experience with her grandfather. Alessandro Beccari, who is a very involved with San Francisco's Italian American community. He was the son of A.P. Giannini's portrait artist. So he knew A.P. Giannini personally, and we were able to get an interview with him. This is the rest of our team looking at just some interviews on set. And then here we go. Let's see, let me get this to open up. There we go.
When I think of San Francisco at that period of time, I think of a city that really was the city of the Golden West. When Giannini talked about the little fellow, he was talking about the working people, the people of average means, the people who did not have wealth, but he was a little fellow himself. He was a giver, not a taker.
He was always helpful to anybody.
The more he showed what he could do for the little man, the more the little man believed in him.
He liked people very much, no matter who they were.
A.P. Giannini started Bank of Italy because immigrants at that time didn't have access to banks. He said, this is a bank of the people of America. That's what I want it to become.
He never had a private office. His desk was always where anyone could walk up to it. And he was available and ready to help anybody. He had a great big desk where he would sit so people could come up and see him. Because he wanted to see if the service was good and all that sort of stuff.
When other bankers got a sense of the vision of what AP was about, they were fearful. As the 20s ended and the bank had become Bank of America, AP was ill and he decided to turn over control of the bank to a fellow by the name of Elijah Walker. Then he left. Walker announced that they were going to sell off parts of Bank of America. AP was shocked and he rose up out of his deathbed and launched the proxy fight to regain control of the company.
He was not afraid to fight, and he was a man with a dream.
He marched up and down California, and there's one report on Stockton where it took 30 clerks to sign up proxies. Thousands of people flocked to APGN and wanted to throw these guys out of office. And they did.
I loved it. Anytime Giannini was any place, he always got around him. He just loved people, people loved him.
He was an enormous man.
He believed in building California to the maximum.
He had a wonderful time.
Mr. Giannini was my father. My name is Dave.
So the connection is what it is. So we just add the link to the chat if you guys want to watch it properly to enjoy it more. We added also a few links to our website to follow us. And due to the increase of, the other day, the city of San Francisco voted for May the 6th to be the Giannini's Day because of his birthday and because what he has done to the city.
The biggest thing when AP shook hands, gives you a good shake hand, I think AP.
Sorry about that.
Yep.
Well, Davide and Anna, thank you so much for sharing that with us. I think that was a perfect message for tonight and also a perfect way to end our evening. I hope that everyone sees the links in the chat and we'll send them out too, just so you stay connected to the making of that movie. Is the website the best place to do that?
Yes, correctly.
Yeah.
You can follow us on social media as well. You can find everything in the website, but yes.
Good.
And I would just add that we've got about 25% of the film filmed. We are still trying to fundraise to get the rest of the film. So we are looking to the community. If there's anyone that's interested, or if they think there's anyone that's interested to help, we have a fiscal sponsor to do a tax write-off, a tax deductible write-off. And then we're open to working with anyone in kind of any aspect that they want to work with us. If we're getting articles out, or just if anyone's interested in donating or helping us to raise money. So
wonderful. And I would say, you know, if this is a name you weren't familiar with before tonight, just watch as you walk around the neighborhood in the weeks and months to come. All of a sudden, once you know that name, you'll see buildings that were built and backed by him. You'll see organizations that still exist. You'll see plaques. I mean, really an incredible legacy once you start to learn about the history of this man and that movement. So a great way to end tonight. I want to thank everyone for being here, to spend an hour or 2 hours with us virtually. It means a lot to me. I hope it helps all of us, and we'll hope to see you out in the neighborhood before long. Until then, stay in touch. We'll do our best to keep sharing information as we can. But have a great rest of your night, everybody. Miss you all.
Thank you, everyone.